It's Bullseye. I'm Jesse Thorn. Alonso Duralde is the film critic for The Wrap. He's a panelist on our very own Who Shot Ya podcast about movies. He's also the author of the books 101 Must-See Movies for Gay Men and, more importantly for our purposes today, Have Yourself a Movie Little Christmas. He's one of the leading experts, perhaps the leading expert, on Christmas and holiday movies. And when it comes to Christmas movies, one company has dominated the market. The greeting card folks over at the Hallmark Channel. Over 150 Christmas movies made, and Alonso has watched nearly every single one of them. This year, they have 22 brand new feature-length Christmas movies. Alonso's been watching them all. Alonso Duralde, welcome to Bullseye.
Thank you. Actually, 37 this year.
Holy cow!
22 on Hallmark Channel, another 15 on Hallmark Movies and Mysteries.
Holy cow. What does that even mean? Like, at the point where you're making 37 of them, are they still even movies?
You know, I like to think of them as a shared universe. You know, this year, an episode of Black Mirror won an Emmy for, like, Best Movie. So I'm thinking if an episode of a TV show can be a movie, then these movies could all be episodes of TV shows. And there's such a uniformity to this that I think there's as much of a Hallmark shared universe as there is a Marvel Cinematic Universe.
This is a shared universe where the signature quality is a variety of different competing Dean Canes?
Pretty much, yeah. And it is the constant messaging is like if you're in New York and pursuing a career, something's gone terribly wrong.
Okay, so how many Hallmark Channel and Hallmark Christmas, what's it called? Hallmark Mysteries
Hallmark
and
Movies and Mysteries.
Hallmark Movies and Mysteries Channel movies have you seen?
So far this year, you know what? I'm going to check my app because there's an app now where they list all of the movies and then it'll ping you in case God forbid you should forget. So according to the app, of the total 37 films, I have seen 23 of them.
What are the essential qualities of the Hallmark Christmas movie? What is their promise to the consumer?
Well, you know, for the most part, they deal with a young woman who lives in the city and is following a career where she is successful but not personally fulfilled. She is then called back to either her own hometown or another small town where her business is doing business. And over the course of that trip, she will cross paths with a guy who is usually very good at fixing things, whether it's her car or the local gazebo, because there's always a gazebo. And he will sort of sweep her off her feet with his proletarian charms. And by the end of the film, she will rediscover her love of Christmas, her love of not living in a big city and pursuing her career. And they will settle down in a perfectly beautiful, quaint small town that has no chain restaurants, coffee shops, or big box stores.
Let's take a listen to a little bit of the trailer of the Hallmark film Christmas Land.
Children, I love Christmas so much that I created this entire holiday village for you and your families to come and enjoy.
I'll never forget it.
Jules Cooper.
I mean, I had high hopes for this campaign, but I must say, I am thrilled. It is turning out better than I possibly could have hoped.
Thought she was on her way to having everything she wanted.
Perfect.
Did you see this letter? Marked third notice urgent. Mrs. Glinda Stanwyck.
It's Grandma Glinda.
Until one Christmas,
I inherited Christmas Land.
So that's kind of an plot for the Hallmark movies. A woman who, as a child, loved Christmas, loved hanging out with her grandmother who loved Christmas, but now is a high-powered marketing exec in New York. But she finds out that she has inherited Christmas Land, which is a big Christmas tree yard and a sort of theme attraction around the holidays. The big question now being, will she come in and take it over and bring it back to its former glory the way her grandmother did, or will she sell it to a developer to build condos?
What are the very best Hallmark Christmas movies that you have seen? Are there any that you would recommend someone who is not already a fan of the genre enjoy?
You know, it often comes down to the intangibles of who's in it. And other little things like that. Like, for example, Christmas Land is one of the better ones because the leads are Nikki DeLoach, who always seems to have a sense of humor that goes beyond the production. Like, she's in the film, but she's also maybe standing a little bit outside the film and commenting on it in a way as she's performing it. And then the male lead is Luke McFarlane, who I think has a touch more humanity than, as you say, the army of Dean Cains that we usually get in these films. So that one's kind of fun, but again, it is very much, it is, if you want to connect the dots of how like a classic Hallmark, narrative goes, that's a good one to watch. McFarlane also pops up in a movie called The Mistletoe Promise, which is an interesting film because no one is really having to, it's about two professionals and neither of them has to give up their job or the big city, but they kind of get each other through the Christmas season because Jamie King plays a divorcee who is running a travel agency that she has to run with her ex because they split it in the divorce. And McFarlane is a lawyer who's trying to get a promotion at work. He isn't being taken seriously by the boss because he is a singleton, because he's been so work obsessed. And she is tired of having her ex-husband flaunt his like hot new girlfriend in her face all the time. So they have this agreement with each other where they're going to be each other's fake relationship and take each other to all the many holiday functions that couples are expected to do during the season. And of course, wouldn't you know it, they fall in love. The fake boyfriend / fiance, also a very popular trope in these movies.
Are there other holidays represented in the canon? Are there Hanukkah or Saturnalia Hallmark movies?
We have been promised one and possibly two Hanukkah movies for next year. I think Hallmark, the thing about these movies is that they've been really popular for years. Like, Hallmark does its biggest numbers at the end of the year. They start showing these movies before Halloween and running them all the way through the end of the year 24/7, which is why they have to make so many every year, because they've got to feed that beast.
I mean, I see sometimes here in Los Angeles my NPR colleague and friend Linda Holmes.
Oh, when she's a big fan. Yes, I follow her on Twitter.
When she's out here for the television critics gauntlet,
right,
which is like 10 days where they learn about every new television show in the upcoming year. Every year, the Hallmark Channel puts on like a gargantuan Christmas in June celebration where they buy out the Beverly Hilton or whatever and turn it all Christmassy to promote these things.
Oh, yeah, no, they've got the brand going for sure. But I think what's happened in the last couple of years is that because people like Linda and other people who are in the entertainment media have been paying serious attention to these movies, with that has come a bit more of a critical eye, part of it being, wow, there's a lot of white people in these movies. And, you get these sort of side characters I like to refer to as the BFOP, which is Black Friend on Phone, which is the supportive coworker or boss or whatever who spends the entire movie on the phone with the white heroine, encouraging her love life because she has got nothing else going on in her own life. They're making improvements in that category. This year I think there are of the 37 new Hallmark movies, 3 of them have black couples at the lead. 2 of them have Latinx leads. So, they're getting there. And for 2019, we are promised some Hanukkah films. So I really can't wait to see what sort of new cliches we get for this holiday that they haven't really tackled before.
I'm interested to see how this formula tackles the collectivist economic ideology of Kwanzaa.
Not holding my breath on that one, but you never know. I would love a Yule film or we're all celebrating the birth of Mithra, whatever it is.
I've watched like a scene or two on YouTube or whatever. Mm-hmm. The thing that surprises me is, it doesn't surprise me because these are professional productions, but like the level of competency is very high. These are real skilled film and television performers, writers, directors, all around, and they've spent enough money that it's not awful.
Right.
But I guess to my mind, like, the reason I would watch it would be camp. So if you take camp away from me, all that's left is drudge.
I think comfort is not to be underrated here. There is something, it is kind of that deal of when you walk into a McDonald's, when you walk into a Waffle House, you know exactly what you're going to get. And you know exactly what you're going to get with these movies. And they're perfect for, if you are on the sofa with the flu and you fall asleep in the middle of one of them and you wake up in the middle of the next one, you'll still know exactly what's going on and what's already happened and what's about to happen. And there is something very soothing about that. And, it is encased in a packaging of wreaths and twinkle lights and small town tree lightings and carolers and all that kind of seasonal stuff that for a lot of people who live in the city or live in a place where it never snows or whatever, there is just a sort of a comforting thing to that. I mean, my husband, who refuses to watch these movies, loves the Shahs of Sunset. He calls them his TV friends. So, I think everybody has that thing where we can't defend this piece of art or entertainment, but, we get something out of it.
I have an almost romantic relationship with Kruk and Kipe, the television play-by-play voices of the San Francisco Giants.
There you go.
Now, on Hushacha,
yes,
the three of you are rarely afraid to take on the identity problematics of film and television.
Sure.
What's it like for you as a guy who is not part of the hegemonic cultural group? You're a man, but you're not straight.
Right.
And I don't know if you grew up in one of the towns depicted in this or in a place that would valorize that. I can't speak to that. But like as a gay guy, you're not being depicted in all
pretty much
these films.
Yeah. But I have a lifetime experience of being ignored by the mass media and of looking for tiny clues, which is part of the fun of these movies. Like, for example, in The Road to Christmas this year, where a young TV producer is trying to get the three adopted sons of a Martha Stewart type TV host back together to surprise her during her live Christmas Eve special. When they finally find the third brother, he is running an animal shelter with another gentleman, and you just look at these guys and you're like, you're supposed to be gay, right? Like there's definite, your movie's not telling me you're gay, but I can tell there's a million little clues here that are tipping me off to this. And so, yeah, would I like to see a queer Hallmark movie? Totally. But at the same time, I think I would be more likely to pick holes in it, whereas these movies are so blandly heterosexual that I have no dog in that hunt, and so I can just sort of sit back and not mind whatever it's getting wrong about human relationships because it's not me.
Let's address a couple of broader Christmas film questions in a sort of rapid-fire fashion since we have the king of the Christmas movie sitting here. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Undoubtedly.
What makes a movie a Christmas movie?
I mean, I think there's no one answer to that one. Usually, obviously, being set during the Christmas season has a lot to do with it. Often, I find that they are stories about redemption, whether it's Scrooge becoming a better person or George Bailey understanding the significance of his life, or even Kevin McAllister coming to understand that he does love his family after all. And so I think Die Hard fits that category because at its core, it's about an estranged married couple coming back together and rediscovering their love for each other during a Christmas Eve terror situation.
What is an alternative film to bring up when someone won't shut up about Die Hard being a Christmas movie that, like Die Hard, fits your definition of a Christmas movie and, like Die Hard, is actually pretty good, but unlike Die Hard, hasn't been run into the ground?
Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh, wow.
Set entirely during Christmas, I should say. Who knows? They shot it for like 4 years. But yeah, the whole movie takes place around Christmas time. And, if we are to believe that Stanley Kubrick does nothing by accident, this is a guy who made some poor PA physically type out all of those all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy pages. It means something, and so you go back and look at that movie again, and you'll see almost every scene has Nicole Kidman wrapping presents, or like the wall at Sidney Pollack's decadent party that's just like covered with twinkle lights, or decorations in the street, or Christmas trees in the prostitute's apartment, or whatever. Like it's Christmas throughout until the final the famous closing line of the film that's delivered in the middle of a toy store.
What is the everybody knows it Christmas movie that you will ride for forever?
I think that It's a Wonderful Life, despite its ubiquity and despite constantly being praised as this extraordinary piece of American cinema, is an extraordinary piece of American cinema, and time will not wither nor custom stale the many things that it has to say about humanity and about the holidays and about how we consider our own lives. It is as iconic as A Christmas Carol at this point, I think, and is as powerful a piece of storytelling.
Alonso, I've got to go, and I know you have to go a wassailing. So Thanks for joining me on Bullseye.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Alonso Duralde, along with the great April Wolf and Ricky Carmona, he hosts Maximum Fun's podcast, Who Shotcha? His book, Have Yourself a Movie Little Christmas, is also wonderful. Go check those out. The piano music you're hearing right now is by our friend Brent Weinbach, by the way. He is a professional stand-up comedian, one of the funniest there is, a genuine, brilliant genius of stand-up comedy. He also, for many years, was a professional piano player. In fact, I think that he was one of those piano players who plays the giant grand piano in the Nordstrom department store. Anyway, he has a collection of Christmas songs that he recorded on his piano at home. It's called Christmas Piano, and it's available to listen to pretty much anywhere you go streaming-wise. So here's comedian Brent Weinbach tickling the ivories in a distinctly not funny manner.